by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Three Guys with Mike. I'm Aaron, joined by my co-host here,
William.
And today we're going to talk about two series that happened, both tied at 1-1. In my opinion, probably two of the most anticipated and entertaining series by far. We have the Celtics and Bucks series tied 1-1, and the Warriors Grizzlies tied at 1-1. So of course we're going to start off with the Celtics Bucks, and in my opinion, this is probably the most physical series out of all of them.
Yeah.
Considering that they have Giannis, Al Horford, Robert Williams, Grant Williams, all four of those guys are probably arguably one of the four biggest dudes in the NBA.
Yeah.
Built-wise and frame-wise. And to see them all go at it with Giannis and Brook Lopez, it's honestly pretty insane. This series being 1-1, what are your thoughts on the Celtics and how they've played so far?
Just watching it, Game 1, I think Game 1 drew a lot of parallels to the previous Game 1 against Brooklyn. I really mentioned in the previous videos with Brooklyn, but looking at the Boston Celtics in Game 1, they did come out kind of flat, and their shot selection was kind of questionable against Brooklyn. The same thing happened in Game 1 against the Bucks. But my biggest thing about Game 1 was just their shots weren't falling, and that was the difference in this game, I believe. And looking at the Bucks, everyone was going off about how the Celtics couldn't really stop Giannis. No one's gonna stop Giannis. If being honest, we didn't even stop Kevin Durant. We slowed him down. You can't really stop an elite player like that. But looking at Giannis' stats, he had the triple-double. It was a major game, major win for him. Yeah. But we did what we could have, and that was slowing him down. And in Game 2, we saw that. And I think the biggest difference was also on defense. We built the wall, but in Game 1, Giannis, he often passed to the corner, passed to the three. But this time, Boston's defenders were kind of staying home. They weren't really allowing any shots to go up. So I think that was just the biggest thing about this game. Also, Jaylen Brown, his performance, 25 points in the first half in Game 2. Going on and looking at it, Game 1 he had 12 points in total with about 7 turnovers. Yeah. So I think Boston just came out flat, and I think they could have also won Game 1, but I just think they came out flat. And now the Bucks, looking at it, I think Boston has done a very, very good job on their offense, and they've held the Bucks to 86 points, which is a season low for them, and they also held them to 101 points. So I think they're in good hands right now. I just need to see more consistent play, especially with Marcus Smart being out with the thigh injury. These few days of rest are going to help him tremendously, so hopefully he can get back and get better. Jaylen Brown as well, his hamstring is kind of... You see him after every play pretty much. He's grabbing it, holding on to it.
I think he left the game a couple times too.
Yeah, he played limited minutes in the second half. Like, he wasn't really on the floor, and his shot selection wasn't the same. But what do you see about this series, though?
Honestly, in my opinion, I have to say, I love watching him coach, I'm being honest. Is Ime Udoka. Former player. He's one of those guys, as a player, he doesn't get a lot of shine. He did a lot of the dirty work, but those guys make the best coaches. And I feel like when you coach about how to get a guy open and schemes, you have to watch the Warriors these past couple of years, those dynasty ages. The Showtime Lakers, right? Even put on LeBron highlights. The way people get their teammates open and the extra passes, I feel like you have to put on film of these Boston Celtics. Every time someone drives, it's like 10 seconds left in the shot clock. They never panic. They always know what they're going to do. It's a driving kick to whomever, because now they've turned into the 2016 Warriors with their three-point shooting. And Game 1 they were off, but Game 2 they showed a lot of promise. And considering that with Marcus Smart being out, they played a hell of a game defensively. Yeah. And they have a lot of these guys on the Bucks filling in for Chris Middleton, like Javon Carter and Grayson Allen. And these guys are just getting absolutely cooked. I'm sorry. They're at least, 6'3", 6'5"? Yeah. And they are no match for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown whatsoever. Because those dudes are they got the wingspan, they have the height, the strength, just knock those guys straight off the dribble, and even the handle too. And the moment they get into the paint, it's just a kick out to Grant Williams or Al Horford. It's just, they have a lot of people who can shoot on this team, and the guys who do the dirty work, like Grant Williams, he does both, 3 and D. And then there's Robert Williams. Yeah. Even though he's injured, he's always there on the glass. He's always trying to contest his shot. And I honestly don't even care if Giannis is banging bodies with him, because you already know there's going to be someone on the weak side helping. That's true, yeah. Yeah, Al Horford or Grant Williams. So, going back to Milwaukee, this is the best chance for the Bucks to win the series. So, if they even drop one game, I think it'll be tough. They have to have a blowout win, in my opinion, for them to get so much confidence, for them to believe in themselves that they can win this series. Because if they're playing like that without Marcus Smart, the defensive player of the year,
the offense
it's wraps. I think it's Celtics in 6 or 5. But if they somehow get a groove going, you get these guys off the bench, get them confidence at somehow. I mean, Giannis, he just can't, like, he's one of those people, he doesn't drive the ball, or he doesn't kick the ball. He always tries to overpower people and take the layup, and I think that's where one of his weaknesses is, because it starts getting into his head, but he has to trust his teammates a lot more, and I think with them going into Milwaukee, I think they can do that.
Yeah, you kind of saw it in Game 1, that's what Giannis was doing. He was, passing as a 3. Game 2, he wasn't really doing it. And in Game 2, the first half, he had, I believe 6 points in the first half, and then he kind of turned it up in the third and fourth quarter. And you see him, and you look at him, he was gassed. Every single time they gave him the ball, offense was running through him, as it always does, but this time he has a physical defender like Grant, like Rob, like Al Horford, just in any of those guys there. And the stat that's kind of interesting to me is that Al Horford is holding up to 6 for 22 shooting this series in 2 games. So Al Horford's doing his job at 35, 36 years old, however old he is. But looking at the Bucks side of things, I think, and we said it, Jrue Holiday, now that Middleton is out, Jrue Holiday has to step it up. And he did in Game 1. He played great, transition on defense, just getting it done. But
defense he's been sure.
But just in Game 2, he really wasn't doing a lot. In the first half, he was kind of keeping them somewhat in the game, but he kind of tailed off in the second half. I think that's kind of a problem. And going back to what you mentioned about Boston and their movement on offense, Tatum, he's been not locked up, but he's been getting a lot of the attention.
Yeah.
A lot of, but now you look at it, the last quarter, he had, I believe, 10 points in the span of like a minute and a half because he was moving off the ball and he was getting open shots. So I think if you're Boston, you got to feel good going back to Milwaukee. You just have to feel like you just got to take one game. But I still think the Bucks are terrifying to me. Just being honest, I think whoever wins this series is going to come out of the East. But yeah, just looking at it, I think the Bucks are going to bounce back. I don't think Jrue Holiday is going to have another game like this. Portis is going to come back and he's going to play physical. Have the home crowd on against them. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting series. We can give our predictions for this series. I'm still going Boston in 7. But I just think Boston has to play consistent. It was night and day from Game 1 to Game 2. So
yeah, if I'm the Bucks too, I want Brook Lopez to get going. I know he had a lot of the nagging injuries, but I feel like he got somewhere of a little step into what he was against the Bulls. And I just want to see that transition, and there's no better place than to do it at home.
Yeah, in Game 1, Brook Lopez was a force.
Yeah.
Like, I hated him. Just watching him, no one could go into the paint. And even in Game 2 as well, but he just got into, I think he had 5 fouls.
Yeah.
I think he had 5 fouls, yeah. So I think that's just something that they have to work on. I think the Bucks are still in good hands. I don't think the Bucks are panicking by any means. I don't think Boston's panicking. You just need Marcus Smart back.
Yeah, and my prediction too, now that you gave yours, I think this does go to 7. And I'm leaning towards the Celtics. And I think they'll take it in 7.
Okay, one thing that I find interesting, I don't know if you saw the media, what they were saying after Game 1, but Nick Wright, a lot of people on TikTok, stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of people were just saying that Game 1 proved that the Bucks are going to win the championship this year, that Boston's overrated, stuff like that. But then Game 2, I didn't hear any of that talk. So it's like, I don't know if you're basing this series off of one game. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like it's like an unfair thing to say. But yeah, looking at it, Boston did the exact same thing, if not even better than what the Bucks did to them Game 1. Boston won by 23, Bucks won by 16. So I don't know. I think it's
Celtics are probably
the
best team at shutting people up, if I'm being honest.
I would agree. Yeah, I think
they say the Nets, including myself, the Nets are going to win last series.
Yeah, I think Boston just played their worst game since December probably. So yeah, I think it's still going to be a good series. Let us know what you guys think. Who you guys think is going to win that series as well. Go ahead, next series.
Moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors. It's just, this series is just like so much you want. Young versus the vet. Klay Thompson, everyone on Twitter was saying how much they miss hearing a Klay Thompson bang, which honestly I did. But bringing my point into Klay Thompson. This Warriors team they can't convince me that they're going to dominate this series. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, Klay and Steph they're struggling to get comfortable.
Yeah. From
where they are. That's why Game 1 to me was just... I wasn't ready to say that, okay, the Warriors, I think they can win this year. I think they could sweep them. You know? It's just the Grizzlies are a young team. And when they're winning games like that, they just have the confidence. They can mess up all they want during any of these games. But when they have the confidence that they can come back, to me, I think that plays a huge part. And as we all know, Draymond getting ejected in Game 1.
That played a huge part, yeah.
I don't think that was an injection.
I don't think that was a flagrant 2 as well. I thought it was a dirty play, but I think just him trying to help him up in the middle of it. I feel like tugging on the jersey was an instinctual thing, you know? Yeah. I feel like you see a guy going up, you're like, let me tug, but then you knew he messed up. But I don't think that was a flagrant 2 at all. And a lot of people could say his reputation, but I don't think if you're a ref, you should consider that because it wasn't that dirty of a play.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I think game 1, the Grizzlies just showed their youth in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Warriors showed their... Even without Draymond, they played a hell of a game on defense.
Curry at the end.
And Curry at the end, locking up Ja, was just big time. But even with these 2 games, and the next game too, Dylan Brooks getting ejected as well.
Mm-hmm.
That deserves an ejection.
Yeah. That was like a really dangerous
the wind-ups, like the freaking big, huge arm is coming at you straight across the head.
Middle of the air.
And now Gary Payton II is now probably going to miss all the rest of the series.
Probably the rest of the playoffs.
Maybe the rest of the playoffs.
He might have a fractured
elbow is nothing to play with. But with that being said, them losing him is just more of a knock on their defense. But I think the Warriors are another team where they can guard any position with anybody except for Steph. But I feel like they all move their feet pretty well. They're gritty on defense, just like the Grizzlies. I mean, I think the similarities are there between these 2 teams. Just no one shoots the 3 ball as good as the Warriors, if I'm being honest. I think the Grizzlies are obviously they have more length with Kyle Anderson and Jaren Jackson. And that's another thing I want to talk about too. And this is why I think my prediction for this is the Warriors in 6. Is because Jaren Jackson gets in way too much foul trouble, way too early.
Yeah.
And when he shoots, it's just like okay, let me see if this goes in. I just feel like he never tries to find a rhythm. Because once he shoots 1 3, you probably won't see him shoot another one until like the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially when he's missing, I feel like that's when it all gets to his head. And that's where I think it's just the vets over youth in this series. And that's why I have the Warriors taking it.
Looking at this series, I think initially I was going to go Warriors in 6. I'm still going to stick with that. But yeah, just if you look at it, Jaren Jackson in game 1 went off in the third quarter, hit like 4 threes in a row, was just going off. And then, as we know, no Draymond, and the Warriors still put out the game. Now, last night, the Warriors were off. Clay was 2 for 12 from 3. Curry wasn't really... He was doing his thing in the first half. Second half, it wasn't really going in. But Ja had 47 points, I think 8 and 9 or 8 and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just looking at it, it's like, how sustainable is that offense? How sustainable... How often are you going to get that play from Jaren Jackson Jr. and from John Morant?
Exactly.
We don't know. And I don't think the Warriors are going to have 2 games like that back-to-back to where Curry's playing or he's not shooting the ball well. Clay, as you know, Clay, we still have to cut him some slack. I keep on like saying it. He hasn't played basketball in 2 years, having 2 of the worst injuries an athlete could have, and he's coming back. And I think his shot selection is pretty bad right now, but I think he wants to just be that guy right now. I mean, you haven't played for so long. We know what you're about. What you've done in the past. I feel like he tries to like remind people right now, but it's not working.
I'm not trying to knock him or anything, obviously, but a shooter, no matter like the lower body injuries, I just feel like they never lose their touch.
And I don't think,
and that's why I think it's not even like he's just doing terrible. I just think it's all in his head.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at it in the past few games, even against Denver, he didn't really lose his touch. He was balling out. But just looking at it, free throws at the end of the game 1, you could tell that was in his head.
Yeah.
And then also game 2, just kept on checking up threes and a bunch of like off balance shots that we kind of know you can make those shots, but is it going to work right now against a team like against the Grizzlies, who, in my opinion, I thought this series was going to be a lot closer, and it is close because Memphis is so big, physical, and the Warriors are kind of more of a finesse team outside of guys like Draymond. But other than that, Jordan Poole is kind of like a shifty guy, so it's like the Warriors don't really have that physical guy besides Draymond on their team, and the Grizzlies have that across the board. So I just think, I think this series is going to be very, very close. Just looking at it, I think the Warriors are still you're going back to San Francisco. You're going to have the home crowd against you, one of the best home crowds in the NBA. I think, honestly, the Warriors could potentially take both. I think Game 3, though, is very important. Because if you give a guy like Ja that kind of morale, that he goes in to the Warriors' home, wins Game 3, then he knows they're going to go back to his house. I think the Warriors have to close out Game 3 and then go on from there. I think they have the experience. Just right now, Grizzlies have the advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I expect a big game from Steph Curry. Especially after Ja's running his mouth. They've both been going at each other.
I think it was that big of a deal.
But it should. Yeah, I know. I think they dapped each other up, but you can just see in Steph Curry's eyes, like post game, and after, like when he was doing interviews and stuff like that, you can just see like he's like itching to go back to San Francisco and check up some shots.
One thing, looking at the stat sheet from last night's game, John Morant 47. Then we have Bane, who was going off in the first series, had 5 points. Jaren Jackson Jr. 12 points. Dylan Brooks, we know, 0 points. And then just across the board, there wasn't really anyone who was getting their offense going. So it's like you're going to need that performance a lot from John Morant, or he needs Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. to step up.
But I think that's what makes the Grizzlies so scary, is that they always kept it a close game. Like, you could see when they had trouble when Dylan Brooks was out and Jaren Jackson found out. But I just feel like they're always in it. And even if John Morant has a bad game, I can expect Desmond Bane to be there.
I don't know. His shooting this series is even kind of off. Just saying. But also, and this is a big thing because this is something that I was kind of worried about when it came to John, his game. I always refer to him as a 6'2", like
Giannis.
He's a Giannis. I mean, being honest, but now looking at it, he had 5 threes last night. He was 5 for 12, and he was honestly shooting it I didn't expect him to shoot that well.
No, but he don't hit no threes in the fourth.
But yeah, but the way I'm saying is that you look at it last year against the Warriors in the play-in, right? Oh my God. He was going off. Yeah. So I just think that John Morant just has to find his balance and his footing kind of when it comes to shooting his threes. Because we see it a lot in Game 5, I believe, against the Timberwolves. He was shooting horrible. So I think this is the key for his game to kind of make that jump is he needs his 3 balls to go down. But yeah, I think this series is still going to be very, very close. I don't know. You still have the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have the Warriors as well. Warriors in 6. I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for them to close it out over there in Memphis, though. I think it's still going to be very hard. It might go 7. I think it goes 7. And keep in mind, I still think the Grizzlies can win this series. I think they're the better fundamental team, but I think the Warriors have too much skill. But anything else you want to cover? You want to give a prediction for the next 2 series? Just a quick prediction.
A quick prediction?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the Suns. I mean, they showed their dominance throughout the course of the season. And I think the Mavs, yes, they're a very good defensive team. It's just they're not consistent. And that's why I think the only consistent player is Luka Doncic. Yeah. So I think the Suns will win in 5.
I'm going Suns in 6. The reason why I say Suns is because I think the Mavs can actually pull out this series, but Luka's play had 45 points. That's great. He had 45 points. That's great, right? But just looking at it, his assists aren't really gonna transfer to the play because he's giving his guys the ball with 5 seconds left in the clock. It's like guys like Brunson, Dinwiddie, they kind of need the ball. They need a ball in their hands for about 10 seconds to just drive in, do their own thing instead of just getting the ball at the last minute. So I think Luke has to change his play. His 45 points is great, but he's not gonna win any games like that. I think he has 4 40-point playoff games, and he hasn't won a single one. It's because the way he's playing isn't gonna transfer to wins. And I think the Suns are just too good right now. So I'm going with the Suns in 6. With the Heat and Sixers, I have the Heat in 6. I think the Sixers, as we were saying, we needed Harden to go off and to kind of be that guy. And he was doing it in the first half. He was playing very well, but then he tailed off. And I think the Heat are just too deep to compete with anyone else. And I think that Embiid, as we know, his injury is just too much to overcome. I think they could get one in Philly and maybe one in Miami, but just right now it just sucks for them.
Yeah, I think I got the Heat in 5.
Heat in 5?
Yeah, I just think they're way too physical. And Philly can match at some times, but then they just start chucking up stupid shots, a lot of dumb turnovers. And I don't even think the chemistry is really all there. There's been a viral video of...
No, I saw. No,
I'm just hoping he smelled or something.
No, the coach he called over him. You see him in the corner. He's like.
I didn't see that context of the video.
No, yeah,
but yeah, I just think, and then when Embiid comes back, PJ Tucker will be all over him, and Bam just throwing those 2 at him. It's just, dude, seeing them 2 in the conference finals, Bam, PJ, and Grant Williams and Al Horford, that would be pretty crazy.
Why are you jinxing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you hate that. But yeah, that series will be fun too. It's just. I don't know. I don't know where Harden's career goes after this.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. He's on the decline, and Joel Embiid is going up, and that never works really well.
Yeah. Looking at it, also Bam is going off in Game 1. I think if Embiid's there, that doesn't happen. Really, I think they still could win this series if Embiid comes back in Game 3 and he goes off. I still think the Sixers they're not the better team to me, but they have the superstar. They have the best player in that series, so I think that they can still pull it out. But the Heat are just too deep right now.
Did I say Heat in 5 already?
Yeah, you said Heat in 5.
Okay, yeah.
I had the Heat in 6. Yeah, I think Sixers could still win the series. Just my opinion. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Anything else you want to cover?
Not really.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. That's
pretty sad though that Luka Doncic has that many 40-point playoff games.
In theory, it's kind of his fault. In theory, it's kind.
You're just saying that because of my tweet last night, putting him over Tatum.
No, you could say he's over Tatum, but I'm just saying that's his fault.
So Luka, Tatum,
it's a style. It's a style of play. I'm just saying, and also looking at it, his shots in the 4th quarter against the Clippers, horrible shot selection. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Anything else you guys want us to cover? Your opinions on the series? Who you think is gonna win? Make sure you guys like, subscribe. share the video, interact with us on our polls on Instagram, stuff like that. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, you covered it.
Okay, thank you guys.